How's it going, everybody? Here to do sort of an interesting video, and this is one that I really would like response to. Be civil, be civil. Don't be rude or dismissive or anything like that. Just you know, be nice, state your opinions, everything like that. But let's keep it civil. But I want to talk about the story of Beauty and the Beast because Disney's Beauty and the Beast, specifically the 1991 animated film, is my favorite Disney movie of all time, and I highly doubt anything will ever surpass it. But I also grew up with the movie ever since I was a little kid, and when I was a really little boy, Aladdin was my favorite one. But then as I started getting older and I could understand themes of movies and things like that, like Beauty and the Beast very quickly surpassed, being my favorite one. You know, um, but the four Disney animated movies that have always circled like those, top five spots were Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, and Lion King. Those have always really been, the top movies for me. But today I specifically want to talk about Beauty and the Beast because, you know, in modern day, and of course, I mean technically when I was a kid it was modern day, but what I mean is like in today's time, I have noticed something more than I used to when I was a kid growing up, and I just kind of want to talk about it. And it's like, whenever I see people watch Beauty and the Beast for the first time that didn't grow up with it or have any experience with it, and even some people that did grow up with it, I see this whole thing about Stockholm Syndrome coming up with Beauty and the Beast. And I have a really hard time accepting that as a thing. Um, Now, for any of you guys that know me or have watched my videos, you guys also know I'm an optimist. So that probably plays into it too. I'm not a pessimist at all. There are very few things where I'm, pessimistic with things. So most of the time I'm optimistic, and this is definitely one of those things because I do compartmentalize things. Like whenever I watch a family movie or a kids movie, I go into it like I'm a kid myself. I put rose tinted glasses on. I don't add layers to it really that much. So but I can't deny the fact that I've watched a lot of people talk about this and mention this, and I've also had conversations with friends of mine that think Beauty and the Beast is a very dangerous movie for kids to watch, and it shouldn't be as held in high regard as it is. And I just don't understand that, because let me tell you my point of view first. Let me just go ahead and tell you how I see Beauty and the Beast. Obviously, number one, you could probably guess, I just see it as an animated movie. I don't look into it that much. But if you're gonna add a deeper meaning onto it, I look at it as a situation where you have a person, in this case the Beast, who has made mistakes in his past, and then you have somebody that comes along and breaks him out of where he is and helps him become a better person. And specifically as it pertains to the story, they fall in love, you know and as somebody like myself who has dealt with addiction, all of those kinds of things, and I have mistakes that I've made in my past, I really love the story of Beauty and the Beast because I think, you know I would love to find that person, that Belle, if you will, that looks past my past and the mistakes that I've made, and judges me on the person who I am today. And so for me, that's sort of the thing that I take away from Beauty and the Beast. I don't view it as the Stockholm syndrome thing, you know. And this is why, and this is what I bring up to a lot of people. Like, if this one, and it's only like maybe a 30-second scene, if that, but if this one little scene wasn't in the movie, then I would give a lot more credence to what people are saying. But here's the thing: Belle left the castle, and you have that whole scene where she gets, attacked by the wolves, and the beast comes and saves her. And when the beast is done attacking the wolves, you can tell he's really hurt, and he faints. And Belle had a choice in that moment, you know, and she could have either kept going, or she could have helped the beast, and she chose to help the beast. Now, I know some people would argue, well, you know, that's how Stockholm Syndrome works, and she was tricked into feeling like she had to, but I don't agree with that, because not enough of the story had taken place for that to be a thing. You know, the one thing that, the one failure that this movie does have is it doesn't really give a good indication of how much time has passed. So, what I would argue is, if we're under the assumption that by the time that she tries to escape the castle, she's already been there for a good amount of time, then sure. But if not, then that argument doesn't really make sense, because, for example, if she's only been there 3 days, or 2 days, or 1 day, does someone really have a hold over you after that? I don't really think so. You'd have to be a really weak-minded person, and I feel like at the beginning of the movie, they really set up how smart and intelligent Belle is at the very beginning of the movie. They almost go out of their way to show how intelligent she really is. So by inferring that somehow Belle has some form of Stockholm Syndrome, honestly is kind of anti-feminist, in my opinion, and sort of devalues the character of Belle as a character, because Disney kind of goes out of their way to say that she is fully capable of making her own decisions. Again, if they didn't have those scenes at the beginning of the movie, just like the wolf scene, I would totally get it. If she was just a regular princess, like Jasmine, well, maybe not Jasmine, that's not a good, but like Snow White or Cinderella, or something like that, and she's really, really girly or princessy, sure, like, I would totally give that to you. You might have a point in that. But being the fact that she's really intelligent, and from what we can gather from the movie, which again, I'm inferring as well as anybody else, I think we're supposed to believe she hasn't been at the castle for very long, I probably would say that maybe only a week or so, maybe a month okay, I believe from the beginning of the movie to the end, only a couple weeks to a month has gone by at most. Okay, and I don't believe that any of that time, whether 1 day or 30 days, someone has that much of a claw in your mind. When you to sort of talk about real life stuff for a second, when you watch videos about women or children or men too that have been in abusive situations, and they do suffer from either light or heavy forms of Stockholm Syndrome, you definitely get this pattern of the person who does this to them, this happened over a grand period of time, like months and months and months, and years and years and years. It's not this really quick thing that happens. It's this steady abusive thing of making you feel comfortable, and then taking that away from you, and making you feel comfortable again. It's like, it's not this really quick thing. And so when it comes to Beauty and the Beast, from the Beast's point of view, a lot of time has already passed. And it's getting down to the wire where the petals on the rose are starting to fall now. And you know and so that's another way that we can gauge time as well. you know um but yeah, I don't know. I feel like 100% buying into the Stockholm syndrome thing is not fair. um Now let's talk about the story of the movie from a pure, not story point of view, but from a movie production and storytelling point of view. Look, I definitely think if this same cartoon was made today, there would definitely need to be a few scenes or two added into the movie for sure to make things super clear. I think, back in the day, animated movies were pretty short. They rarely ever went past, an hour and a half. So, you know, when you take that into account, this is a very quick, surmised version of Beauty and the Beast. Now, as somebody who is a fan of the Disney Beauty and the Beast story, way back when I did actually do research on the original tale of Beauty and the Beast. And look, okay, and here's the thing that I'll give everyone on the Stockholm Syndrome side of this. Look, the original tale of Beauty and the Beast, 100%. Okay? Just, look, I hate to admit it, but yes, Beauty and the Beast is 100% a story all about Stockholm Syndrome. It's not as romantic as, anyone should believe. But I don't think the Disney version is. I think, again, Disney sort of goes out of their way to make things very clear. And again, this isn't a movie for adults. This is a movie for kids. If this was a cartoon for adults, there probably would be a lot of scenes added to make things very clear. But let's just be real here. Not appropriate for kids, So, and again, it's a fairy tale, and I don't understand the idea of, wanting to be pessimistic about a Disney animated movie. It's like, I totally understand if you just don't like the story or if it's not for you, but bringing the whole Stockholm Syndrome thing in it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, again, because the original classic story has an element to it, I guess you could argue that there would be shades of that no matter how you tell the story. But I don't feel like it's as in your face as a lot of people would have you think. Now, again, going back to the production side of things, so it sort of got carried away because I'm really passionate about this story. But yes, from a production point of view, they could have done a better job with going about certain things, and maybe some of the story beats should have been made a lot more clear. Maybe this should have been a movie that was, more like an hour and 45 minutes or something like that, like, because here's the thing, as much as I don't like the live action remake of Beauty and the Beast because of how they digitalized everybody's singing voices, especially Emma Watson, there were some story elements to the story that I felt that they added, especially considering Belle's mother, the stuff at the beginning with the prince. There were definitely things about the live action version that I felt made the story better. But, those things weren't in the animated version, but using that as an example, I could definitely see ways that you could make this story better than it is in its current state. However, all that being said, I want to put I'm gonna say this right off the bat. There is nothing that anyone's gonna say in the comment section that's going to change my mind on this. I want to make that abundantly clear. So don't leave a comment under the impression that you have any leeway on my brain or mindset. This is purely just to be a conversation piece and just, hey, what do you think? Because again, this is also one of my sister's favorite Disney movies as well. And this is something I told my friends too, who are female. Out of my female friends that I have talked to, I would say about half of them see the Stockholm Syndrome thing, and the other half think the other half is crazy because they don't see it at all. So I don't know, you know. Um, and I don't know any of my guy friends that think that because, like me, this is a movie we grew up with as kids, and sure, maybe you'd be correct in saying that nostalgia is getting in the way of me being critical, but honestly, in this case, I don't really mind that if that's the case. I love this movie. I love the music. It means something emotional to me. It's one of the few movies that I can honestly say every time I watch it, when it gets to the end, I cry every single time. You know, I love this movie. But also, let's not let's not kid ourselves here. Aside from Aladdin and Lion King, really all of the 90s and before Disney movies have some problematic things. Like I think The Little Mermaid is problematic if we're going to be judging it by real life, you know, but that's just, you can't think about these things that way. Um, I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it does any good. I think it teaches children to be cynical instead of, it kills their imagination, you know. And look, if you want to be a cynic, that's fine. But very few kids are born cynics. Most kids are taught to be cynics. And if you're teaching your kids or kids around you to be cynical, then you're a monster. You just are. Because Disney makes great movies for kids. They're fantasies. They're not supposed to be real or realistic. When you start judging it by real world, psychology or theology or all the different ologies, then yeah, you're gonna run into some problems with some of the movies. That's why you don't do that. You allow your mind to escape into a fantasy realm and just have fun with the story. And but yeah, because I watch a bunch of reactor channels, and I've watched a few people that hadn't watched Beauty and the Beast ever before, and I just kind of find it curious that both of these people that I watched in particular both said what they said about Stockholm Syndrome, and it's just weird that this sort of take on the Beauty and the Beast story is a thing nowadays, because back in the 90s and the early 2000s, I didn't know anyone that saw Beauty and the Beast in that light. And so I'm just curious. I'm just, I don't know. Um, you know, and look, maybe, and this is what I'll end on too. Um, because this is what I honestly think. Because again, being the fact that this is my favorite Disney movie, I've watched a shit ton of stuff on Howard Ashman. Obviously, if you've seen the documentary about him that's on Disney Plus, you know, if you know about him and like the end of his life, the kind of person that he was, all through his life, I could understand if you were to say certain things about Disney like today or from the aughts on, from the 2000s and on. But at the time that Howard Ashman was working with Disney, when they were doing Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin, I don't believe the people that were working at Disney were thinking that way. I really don't. I don't think that they were trying to put one over on kids or adults. When you hear, if you ever watch that famous video, which you can actually find on YouTube, the unaltered or uncut version, but if you watch that kind of seminar that Howard Ashman does, where he talks about coming up with the idea of animated movies being like the perfect way to tell Broadway musicals. I feel like that sort of fills in the blanks on a lot of things with people's problems with Beauty and the Beast, and I think that kind of shows like their mindset going in the movie. And again, that's not me saying that maybe there aren't shades of the Stockholm Syndrome thing, and maybe the movie isn't as perfect as I want it to believe, but if I'm willing to go to that measure, then I need everyone on the other side to also say, well, maybe, you know, maybe even though those shades are there, maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe their intent was to tell a romantic story. It's just really hard when you're working with this specific fairy tale of Beauty and the Beast, you know. So I'm willing to go there, which I know isn't far, but I'm willing to go 20% if you're willing to go 20%. But I can't give you the whole thing. You know, I do not believe that there were evil minds at work here or anything like that, you know. I still think this movie is incredibly romantic, and so so this is just my thoughts on Beauty and the Beast, specifically the Disney version, and I'm curious what other people think. Thanks for watching, and again, be nice, don't be mean. I will delete comments. I am not above deleting comments. No language, no profanity, no calling people out, no slurs, you know, no F drops, no N drops, none of that. Any of that, I will not even delete. I will block. All right. Let's keep it civil. Let's have a discourse, but keep it civil. Peace out, guys.